Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host, who, inspired by the terrifying sight of Callum Patterson hulking out and chasing the linesman around the pitch, is working on a screenplay where a Scottish lake-dwelling monster wreaks havoc on an unsuspecting world. Keep your eyes and ears open for updates on Loch Ness Colump coming to a cinema near you, as I welcome the brains behind the project, your friend of mine, Dr. Luke Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm good. We're just spitballing some ideas around, talking about thinking we get DreamWorks in on this,
Oh, nice. It's good to get that family angle, get that, if you can get toddlers involved, there's a lot of coin there, isn't there, really?
Sure. We just want to confuse as much as Shrek, really, as possible.
Oh, nice. It'd be nice for people to hear a genuine Scottish accent rather than that awful Mike Myers one that he does.
Oh, Rich, I was planning on getting Mike Myers in.
Oh, no. Fellow Canadian.
Actually, no, I was planning to get Michael Myers from the Halloween franchise to do the voice.
I was just thinking Patterson would play himself, but there we go. Maybe an idealistic fool.
I'd love to see Callum Patterson wearing a green mocap frog suit. That'd be fun.
Well, you just know he'd go for it. It doesn't matter what position it is. He gives it his all.
Well, maybe with the current nature of a lot of recent performances, maybe the players can just play in fancy dress, really.
This is another one of our increasingly deep series of episodes where I'm recording within a stone's throw of the training ground. Darren Moore personally requested my presence. He said, we just noticed that, when Richard was at the ground, there was an improvement in the performance and everyone, pulled their socks up. So we wanted to do it again. So I'm here. I've answered the call.
I'm glad you answered that call.
But, plans for your movie aside, you're well, Luke? How's your week been?
I'm doing okay. It's not been too shabby a week. I got to attend a hockey game midweek. I went to see the Calgary Flames host the new Seattle NHL expansion draft team, the Seattle Kraken or Kraken. I'm still not familiar with the pronunciation of such a thing, but that was fun. Even though the Flames lost, it was fun. It was a good time.
How does it? So when a new team joins, does that? Where do they get their players from? Do they just kind of scoop up the dregs?
It's more complex than I really have much idea about. They have unrestricted free agents, so technically players can be nabbed from certain places.
Okay,
but I don't know enough about it, so. Let's go on to something I know slightly a little bit more about, which is Sheffield Wednesday. Should we do that?
Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah, that's fair enough. So we will play the noise for the news in here. Crash, tinkle, woo, woo, woo. Breaking, hoo-hoos.
We should just leave yours in, to be honest.
The analog version.
Yeah.
So Wednesday-based news. Really, I'm only thinking about the Wigan game. Am I missing?
There is the incredibly sad news about Jose Semedo, which goes into this. I think I kind of woke up. Was it Thursday? I think this was announced.
Yeah.
Or the news announced. Sorry, the news kind of came out about Jose Semedo's wife who contracted an infection and then subsequently passed away in hospital. So it's been something very thick on a lot of Wednesday fans' mind, including today. There's a very marked and very lovely support shown on the 6th minute, and obviously by the team as well when they scored the goal. So that's been something that's been in the Sheffield Wednesday world. I guess in this slow news world, there's not much that affects the world of current Sheffield Wednesday, but it had a little bit of breaking through into what happened. So it was it is absolutely heartbreaking for someone who is such a fond cult hero at this football club that happened to.
Yeah.
And something so young. So I think, every Sheffield Wednesday fan's hearts are out with Jose and his rest of his family.
No, absolutely echo those sentiments. Yeah, it was moving today. I suppose it probably makes more sense to talk about it during the covering the match, but yeah, it's certainly kind of it's woven into the fabric of the day, really. But we did have time to sort of talk a little bit about Semedo, and every now and then there's a player that is the fans' representative on the pitch, and he embodied that probably more fully than anybody that I can sort of remember in my time watching the team, really, I think. So there's that kindred spirit element, and yeah, it's desperately sad to hear what's happened to him and his young family. On a brighter note, there is also this. I'm going to wade into this with no knowledge or no notes, but we've had a young goalkeeper called up to the England, one of the England sort of, I think the England under-20s team, which again, just another sign of a bit of progress around the club and the academy side of things. It all feels fairly well managed and positive, that side of our club, in a way that lots of other bits of it don't. So it's just another sort of positive element to report on. But should we bring ourselves to the Wigan game?
Let's do it as well, because this is interesting. I know you were there, IRL.
I was. I made my way to Wigan. It's the only bit of Wigan I've seen is around the football ground, and it's a pretty depressing hole. It's got to be said. It's it's attached to one of these very American style kind of entertainment mall type deals, which is a bit down at heel. Lots of neon that's kind of half filled in and things like that, and rusty metal work and stuff. So it's not the loveliest angle of things. And I was really struck for the first time that Wigan has a pier but is completely landlocked, which I presume is a joke that everybody's in on. But it only struck me this time round that what a strange thing that is to have a famous pier, but be. Yeah, complete. Miles and miles from the sea. They really are quite far from the seaside. But a fine turnout from the Owls. I don't know if you saw the pictures, but it was it looked a very full stand there in the away end. So it's nice that they gave us such a good number of tickets, and obviously gratefully appreciated by the Wednesday faithful. Lineup wise, what were your sort of famously a man that loves a lineup, loves to dig into a lineup? What were your initial thoughts when you saw the team sheet?
I was kind of thought it was a little bit brave and a little bit exciting that Chiboy Baz was missing out, even injury kind of aside. But there he was on the bench, and we were playing wing without Bannon, which I thought was something. I thought it was interesting seeing Hutch in the middle of the park. Something I've not typically historically been keen on within the latter end, the fag end of Sam Hutchinson's Sheffield Wednesday career.
Yes. Yeah.
I was happy to see Brown back. I enjoyed that. Yeah. That was good. Again, having Hutchinson within the middle of the park is inviting the only other centre-back who seems to be fit, because who knows what's happened with Lewis Gibson. Dunkley was partnering Iorfa.
Lewis Gibson has got lost in that same corner of the training ground as David Bates did, and may never be seen again.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Patterson's involvement was a big surprise. He's someone he's had to live off fumes really in terms of his appearances so far for the team. I did think of a line, Westlife were flying without wings. We were winging without Baz midweek.
we were winging it, were we, Rich?
We were. But I think it was a bit hard to get a feel for during the first half. It was a bit hard to get a feel for how we were exactly trying to set up. Callum Patterson seemed to be. At first, I thought, he's going to probably play the right wing because we've seen him there before. But he was much more central. He was very much, more or less, kind of the peak of that three. But also, he got beyond Gregory a few times. So, first half we dabbled with almost looking like we were playing 4-4-2, with interesting effects. I don't know how you felt, but I thought that first half, some bits really worked quite nicely, but other bits looked a bit sort of janky. And I thought that left side of Johnson at left back, he just looked a bit exposed by Brown. Brown was kind of it's interesting because he's nominally a left back, but it seems when he plays on the wing, he doesn't exactly bring the discipline of a defender to that position. He seems to just kind of really shook off that responsibility and just go
tosses that aside.
Yeah, exactly. He just freewheels up there. And I thought Johnson looked a bit exposed at times by them, and they were definitely playing, kind of targeting us down that side. Yeah, it's interesting because obviously, Wigan were top of the league when we visited. And with we talked last week, our current run of form, we get set against theirs. You're probably going along not massively hopeful, but it was really interesting to see that this is potentially our kind of most attacking lineup we've played all season. And I think we matched them pretty well. I think they look like a decent team. Certainly on the front foot, Wigan looked like a decent team.
Well, they really seem to be coming at us at some kind of great pace. Whether they were doing anything of any great note or great incisiveness as part of that, I think, is something else. There just seems to not be a great deal of stability within that kind of defensive midfield and kind of going back to the back. There's a lot of holes to exploit in Sheffield Wednesday and not really much kind of going forward. And then, then hilariously, then we scored in the first half.
Yes. It's interesting because obviously Hutch is there as defensive midfield, but he wasn't really playing. It was Wing playing the holding role, and Hutch was more doing a kind of box-to-box feel to things because Adeniran was playing the right wing. So it was really those two in midfield with Patterson dropping in at times. It was interesting. I mean, but sometimes fairly effective. I can sort of see that you want Adeniran, you want to work Adeniran into games, and ideally, I think you want him up the top end of the pitch. I think you want him to sort of take that touch and go past that first tackle and then be in a position to make things happen. Whereas when he's further back, he can get himself into trouble playing the same way has sort of more dicey connotations, I think, when he's further back. So I don't know. It's an interesting sort of. It felt like there was lots of different experiments happening, and in the first half, it probably wasn't all clicking particularly well. The goal really helped, and it was a bizarre, absolute freak goal. So Sam Hutchinson took a fairly quick free kick and was trying to sort of knock it deep to Gregory and Patterson. But he overhit it massively, and it was Max Power, wasn't it? There, who's something of a star man for Wigan, who decided to grasp the mantle and head it back to the goalkeeper, and managed to put it right into the middle of his own goal from outside the box. It was a good old header.
It was. He made it really well. It's one of those lovely own goals where basically like you're just watching it kind of take a delicious eternity to just trickle into the net. And then, people gasping, the keeper gasping after it, whatever the other Wigan defender rushing after it. But it was just beyond the kind of grasp for them to fish it out of the net. So, no, I have to say, live, it's really good.
I have to say, live, it felt like it went a couple of different paces. Because I think there was the initial header and you're like, oh my goodness, this could be a goal. And then it seemed to like slow down a little bit when it hit the ground. And I think this may not be borne out. My formed memory is that the defender and the goalkeeper kind of watched the header go by them in horror, then saw that it wasn't going quite as quick as they thought. So they then tried to chase after it. But by that time it was beyond saving, so it eventually rolled in. But there was almost that initial cheer of the way, then there was the cheer of this is going to be a goal, and then it died down because I think everybody was like, maybe they're going to catch this. We just need to, because it was the other end of the ground from us. And then obviously the huge relief of the goal going in. But I mean, probably slightly undeserved, probably slightly against the run of play.
I would definitely say as much. And Wigan looked like the one who were taking the game to us.
Yeah.
Rich, you and I shared a text at halftime to say, look, this isn't going to be, I don't really have much confidence in Sheffield Wednesday keeping the clean sheet with this one.
No.
And, that was the prediction that was course correct. But I don't think the rest of the game went the way that it would have. Because, I think from there, I thought we would look to better beast in the second half, I must say.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is in terms of this, in terms of kind of like promising position and promising kind of possessional play, Wigan looks far better than us. But I'm going to say, like, the chances that we created were really, really good and really promising.
That sumptuous volley by Patterson was just... He was denied one of the goals of the season, really, by a great save from the goalkeeper. Because where Gregory chested it down and he just kind of wrapped his foot round it from just outside the penalty area. That would have been... It was a shot, getting that effort on target was worthy of a goal, really. It's unfair for the goalkeeper to save it. And then Jayden Brown really should have done better with the follow-up. He had a good chance on the rebound with that as well. So, definitely, we had some chances. We definitely did.
What do you think about kind of in this performance to look at a player who's, a player who we can go around and look around and say a lot of players were particularly under par today for Sheffield Wednesday, but I don't know. I think it's, maybe if I'm being generous, was a little bit unfortunate today to come off. But Gregory was an interesting beast. Gregory was one who I thought his entire play up front was brilliant. I thought it was exactly what we needed. Had a brilliant piece in the winning goal for Patterson, which is really sumptuous.
Nuisance. The pair of them together just didn't let Wigan lie. They just, it was dragging them and shoving and pushing. It's all the kind of dark arts. But I'm a huge admirer of that kind of dirty side of forward play. I think it's a means for a lone striker or a kind of slightly, I'm thinking the word alienated, but I don't mean that, sort of separated out from the rest of the team, isolated. A kind of isolated front line to kind of punch above their weight is to sort of make those sort of niggly little fouls and nudging people out of the way to make some space. And Gregory 2 or 3 times was fairly unlucky where he managed to sort of muscle a player out and create a gap for the ball to run through for Adeniran or Patterson, and things could have come of that. I also think I thought this was probably Gregory's best game. I loved his play for the goal because he sort of really cleverly used his pressure to work the defender who was trying to see the ball out of play, and then his pass was perfect, and he was desperately unlucky with his... Again, it was a great save from the goalkeeper. He was very unlucky not to score.
The one where, he hit it with some real velocity. A bit similar to another chance today for Wednesday through Bannon at the end of today's game. But, really hit it with some real venom, Yeah,
the bar has really taken against us these last couple of games.
It has. The thing I did want to say about Gregory was, despite how fantastic I thought it was I think I'd agree it's the best performance we've seen from Gregory in a Wednesday shirt. I do think he was not very good with his one-on-one that he had.
Once again, unfortunately, it was on a plate for him, wasn't it? It really, he's got to finish chances like that. On another day, that could have been the difference between a draw and a win, or worse. But I also wonder, did we see the best of him because he had somebody to play off? He's not a physical presence in the way that Callum Patterson is. Callum Patterson can play the game with a physicality. To be honest, very few people do. But that's one of the things with Gregory is he's not. We play him like a big man forward, and he's not really. He's a foil forward, I think. It's more about making spaces and flick-ons and things like that. Whereas, well, we talk about him too much probably on this podcast, but like Stephen Fletcher, if you like, that's about using his frame and his body and his strength, holding people off. I don't think Gregory's got that. I think he's although he's a big man, he doesn't play like a big man.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder whether having Patterson up there to do some of that physical toil meant that Gregory was freed up to do more of what he's good at, more of what he's made a career out of.
That's really interesting because I don't think we really saw that kind of play and formation leading into today, really.
No.
I guess the only other thing to talk about from the Wigan game is, I thought it was funny, I thought we looked second best, maybe marginally so, kind of in terms, because you can kind of, it's one of those games where you're like, we didn't look like doing a great deal in the first half, but then, miraculously we've taken the lead. But then looking at the Wigan chances, there wasn't a great deal that I really felt that we were kind of under the cosh from them for.
There was some big saves, wasn't there? Bailey Peacock-Farrell made some big saves.
He did make a couple of big saves. There was one which he was a one-on-one on the angle, and he got his shoulder to it.
That was good. That was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And straight after we scored, they had a sort of free header in the box that he got down really well to palm clear. And there was an effort from outside the box. It was like a vicious volley, and again, live, we couldn't quite tell whether it had just gone wide but watching it back, he definitely got a touch on it, which made it go round the post. So, he was back to his best really at midweek. It was nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been even nicer if he was allowed to keep a clean sheet.
Well, maybe there's another, linkage to today's. There is definitely a linkage to today's game in that Bradley Johnson. Yeah, Bradley Johnson, the player who doesn't play for Wednesday, just came on the pitch and did a poo-poo. No, it was Marvin Johnson at left back.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like a Marvin. I don't know what he looks like.
No.
It's the most difficult.
He doesn't feel like a Johnson. I paused earlier. It just, for some reason, I feel like Brown should be Johnson, and I don't know what Johnson's name should be.
He's a very strange man, is Marvin Johnson. But maybe some questions, I think, from some people over his defensive capabilities. I guess the interesting thing is I think we've said that we've preferred him as a left back purely for it seems to be a real benefit to have him come from deep with some of those crosses from deep that have been really, really good for us, led to the goal against Ipswich. That was a big one. And just kind of really caused some havoc with his crossing from the left. But again, no need to give away a penalty there.
No.
I don't understand why you need to be in that situation where you just shit yourself and just put your hands on someone in the box. I don't.
These two games back to back, he is being targeted. So people know he's not up to scratch defensively, I think. Or of the two, I guess, of the two sides, you take bomb scare Dunkley and out of place winger Johnson against ever reliable Palmer and Dominic Iorfa, the prime athlete. I guess that's a fairly easy choice if you're a team looking at Wednesday and thinking, how are we going to hack this lock? We've got one half of the boxes completely sealed in concrete and the other half is been half chewed through by a dog. Which one are we going to go for? Which bit are we going to chip away at? And I think you probably go for the easy option, don't you? No, it's interesting. It's definitely a gamble because I do think he offers a lot there. He seems more comfortable. What the things that he's good at there are winger things. It's bringing the ball out from the back. It's distribution. It's crosses. He doesn't do them as a winger, but he does them as a fullback. It's just whether he's good enough as a defender to justify being in the team as a winger.
That was my favorite Netflix show.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so we didn't get a clean sheet, and we can't have nice things in the world as a Sheffield Wednesday fan, like relaxing 10 minutes to just piss the ball about or time waste and just see the winner. Including Peacock Farrell picked up his first yellow for Wednesday. He
did, bit of time wasting.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was any time wasting that I've not seen unpunished by any of the goalkeepers in any other games of football. Yeah,
compared to today, he barely did any time wasting. No, it's interesting. I mean, it was nice to see that second half. I think we looked fitter than them. I think we outlasted them. They did get a second wind late on, but that second half we came out and put pressure on them and overwhelmed them. Patterson set the tone with that. He's just a great presence to have around.
Mm-hmm.
And handily, you can work him into so many positions. So I think personally, I'd like to see him play more often than not going forward. Patterson, I think
so. I think so. In a world of kind of misfiring forward options. Well, I mean, you are naturally just going to bank on a player who scored twice in 2 consecutive games.
Well, that too. He looks money in this league in front of goal. Because he could have had a hat-trick against Wigan.
Does it feel a very Scottish thing, Rich? And I'm saying this to you, Rich, who is, born in Glasgow, Richard Miller. Does it feel a very Scottish thing that some shithole in Lancashire should be a real blooming, blossoming ground for Callum Patterson?
A small piece of his heart shall forever be Wigan Athletic.
I just think it just seems like the great battleground for him to kick some lumps and bag some worldies. Really, it just for some reason it just feels fitting.
Yeah, he got a yellow as well for an excellent bit of just barreling into the goalkeeper.
I remember that as well, and the beautiful just go down, just play acting of like just poleaxe yourself on the ground.
Hurt me too, man.
Yeah.
When I charged into his chest, his pec flicked me in the ear. Do you think that's enough for the midweek match?
I think so, because the natural focus of the show is that sometimes we, there's different, there's always that nature, isn't there? There's different depending on the timing, but sometimes bizarrely we do really well midweek and then we just shit the bed at the weekend. And it's kind of our duty and all for our format on the show. It's the cover said show.
One thing just potentially worth noting in passing, for fans of bad and weird subs, bringing on Jack Hunt for Adeniran was up there for one of the weirdest subs that Darren Moore has made, and it was entirely ineffective. It was like he didn't know what to do there. Jack Hunt, he's not a right winger. Why did we do it? We were on the front foot till we did that. We were all over them till we did that. Anyway, even in a win, Daz has got to squeeze in his signature baffling substitution or two. So Hutch out. Hutch limped off in the game midweek. A pretty dirty tackle when you watch it back. Wigan were a dirty team, I have to say. Lots of horrible tackles. Several yellows, several that should have got yellows that didn't. But that tackle on Hutch was nasty. Off the ball, and has put him out of that game and this game at the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, having hobbled off, Hutch didn't make it, so Bannon came back in the midfield, and we had Shodipo playing on the left wing rather than Jaden Brown. Those were the two changes this time round. What do you think? What do you think of those changes? Were you a bit like me that you sort of almost wanted to see what it was like without Bannon for another game, or is that strange?
No, I completely agree. I think, but I don't think we never seem to keep winning lineups. No. And it seems to be kind of the patter and the mentality of Moore that we use this rotation, that we rotate the squad and we bring people in and out. That's why we do this part of this process.
It's the phrase he uses, isn't it?
Yeah, I was looking at this lineup and thinking I wasn't particularly optimistic looking at this lineup. I don't know what the best 11 is. I can confidently tell you that this isn't it. This ain't it, Chief. I mean, like the fact that the interesting thing for me was the big revelation for me as a Sheffield Wednesday fan, as someone does this podcast, seeing no Hutchinson there is huge. I never thought to say I'd miss Hutch from the lineup, thinking about his last few seasons and history of this podcast.
Yeah, yeah. But he has
I
made himself pretty indispensable this season.
guess so. And the interesting, yeah, completely. And I've liked the partnership that Hutchinson and Iorfa reformed. I was unsure about how effective Hutchinson was midweek, but the interesting thing was he had a big hand in the first goal.
Yeah.
So that has to go
It was a bad free
some
kick.
way.
That's the thing, isn't it? It did result in a goal, but it was a bad free kick.
But still noted he's got an assist on an OG, I guess. However it goes in, I don't really give much of a fuck anymore. But yeah.
Worth saying, sorry, that is something worth saying. So this is a Bannonless team, and the set pieces were markedly better.
Yep.
Wing and Johnson on the set pieces were consistent and dangerous. Some of the deliveries Johnson put in the second half were fantastic. I'd like to see him on set pieces more often.
I think the thing we can just
real whip on things.
The thing we can just land on is we'd rather not see Bannon on free kicks at all. Or free kicks, I'm not so sure. Corners are abysmal. Bannon corners.
That was the Mark thing again, wasn't he? He took basically all of them. There was one short one, which actually, I think was probably the best. I
know that I actually made a note about that, which is like even the short corner, which have always been tossed for Wednesday. This was actually the best because it almost ended up in something. Almost looked like it worked for that instance.
Probably because it was Wing putting the ball in rather than Bannon.
Yeah, I didn't know who else was there to kind of to jockey that crossover. It was Wing, was it? Okay,
I think so.
Interesting.
So there was the bit of that after the Lord Mayor's show, wasn't there? Because we started very, very hesitantly, and they seemed to really be right at it early doors. I think they had an effort that resulted in a corner within like the first 2 minutes or something like that. And I
remember on the 7th minute, they did a great ball out to, I think it was Long on the right, who had, again, had a field day. But again, with that perspective you're giving, I think you're correct that, teams are very conscious that Wednesday have a weakness on our left flank. So attack on the right, attack. And, Oxford looked a decent side.
I thought they looked, very decent, particularly first half. I thought second half we managed to kind of, I don't want to spoil too many, to get kind of run roughshod over things too much. But that first half, I just felt like maybe more so than any team we've played so far this season, that it was a team of footballers. Like last season or last couple of seasons in the Championship, you sort of come away feeling like, why can't we have a dynamic, athletic, dangerous-looking midfield? And they kind of looked like a bit more of a Championship-style midfield where everybody can kind of put their foot on the ball, everybody can play a pass, everybody can move the ball a little bit.
I mean, I can echo those viewpoints, and I really want to say, why are we... It's another game of Wednesday being shit. It's another game of Wednesday losing or being disappointing or not getting the win. However you want to kind of look at this, however you want to break it down. Why are we playing another team who I just think these teams look better than most of the teams I've seen in the Championship?
Yeah.
Are we just that shit? Like, is it just not just such basic game mechanics and basic kind of possession and calm? It's such a misguided element of calm from this. Like we've had, like, I can think of like just my first half notes, like most of them are, well, anyway, so like, I'm not sure what happened. 7th minute, there was a great ball out to Long on the right from Oxford. Iorfa thankfully slid the ball across out of play. Oxford having a real spell at that point. The next minute after that, Adeniran gave the ball away very cheaply.
Yeah.
And 10th minute, they just had a brilliant, absolutely amazing through ball. And they just, I don't know who it was for Oxford, just put it wide of the net on the angle one-on-one with Peacock Farrell.
I actually think that was a save, I think he got a hand to it. We were right behind it, and I think he touched it around the post. It got given as a goal kick because this referee and teams of linesmen have really taken the mantle of awful League One ref, and they have made it their own. Oh, they have brought a panache to terrible refereeing that you seldom see at any level.
I felt like you almost gave a chef's kiss there,
getting. Yeah. He is the salt bay The Salt Bay of bad referees.
You've gone to You've gone to a bad restaurant and be like, oh, you guys have outdone yourself with how bad this is right now. Oh, mwah.
Well and truly outdone yourselves, yeah, Monsieur, with these constant bad decisions. I mean, honestly, if you were trying to get things wrong, I think just on the balance of probability, you would have more success than this officiating team had today. It just was mind-boggling how many things they got wrong. Mm-hmm. More so second half when we were on the offense, which you know,
we'll get on to later.
Yeah, we'll get on to later, of course. Yeah, but we just looked rattled. The whole left-hand side was a kind of gaping maw that they could just pour the ball into again and again. Shadipo just was not bothered at all about helping coming back, and any time he did, he sort of seemed to make things worse. Dunkley has a blind spot over his right shoulder. I think maybe because he's a right-sided centre-back normally, so you think the fullback's going to be there.
You're going to say because he's got a glass eye on his right eye.
Maybe he's got a glass eye. Maybe his fade kind of comes out over that right eye, so he just can't look that way. But we've conceded goals because of that. We nearly conceded the one-on-one midweek was because of that. A ball played inside of him, he just is completely. I don't know. He just can't deal with, and his general hesitancy of play all round causes us problems, gets us into trouble.
You know what?
Those two is a bad combination. Sorry, go on.
So like we've mentioned this, I've talked all the chance of the 10th minute, the 11th minute we concede. Okay, I'll talk about this, and then what I want to say is this is the concurrent theme that I felt for Sheffield Wednesday for this game, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this. So it's my mate Bradley Marvin Johnson. Defends poorly, gives the ball away terribly. It's nicked off him. Brannigan on the angle somehow gets it underneath Bailey Peacock-Farrell at the near post. Questions about Peacock-Farrell. I mean, they were saying on the commentary whether, because I couldn't really kind of attribute just how terrible the weather was. It looked very kind of dank and wet, autumnal, Sheffield weather. It looked like that was
like a meme, Luke.
It was dankest than the dankest of memes.
Yeah.
Mem Lord. But I do want to say questions about Peacock-Farrell. I do want to say Johnson's cost us again with this. Now, the theme I want to kind of get to with this, the thing I was thinking was, Moore is trying to instill within the mentality to be obviously a team playing out from the back and a team to have a degree of calmness in possession of the ball.
Yeah.
You cannot have calmness without any conviction about what you're doing.
Yes, yeah.
That is the concurrent theme for Sheffield Wednesday defending in this game, just massively. I'm not going to rush myself. No, but you need to have some conviction. Like, I feel there's instances where, I feel in the first half from early on, Adeniran kind of had the feeling of, it felt like he communicated across to us all, I'm not going to be rushed with doing this. Yeah. And I'm because that's going to be more embarrassing and it's going to have the fans on me as more, on my back completely. But for fuck's sake, you need to just do something in those situations. You just can't dawdle. The pressure teams are putting on us is just making us absolutely crumble. Comment I made, I said, I feel like our defensive materials are the Shop's own brand comparison in any Bounty advert. Porous and wet from crying and pissing ourselves.
Do you not think we're like a sort of low rent? Because I think one of the kind of meta of modern sort of top level football, which it gets kind of echoed then through the tiers of the Football League. Liverpool and Man City have won leagues by being not particularly good at defending, but that not being an issue because what they're going to do is just drown you in possession. So you're never going to get a chance to have a go at their kind of pretty flaky core. But they can get exposed. Those teams maybe not so Liverpool so much. They absolutely nailed it the season they won the title. But they could get turned over 6-0 or something, stupid, but by and large, they're going to win or eke out every single game because they're just going to hold the ball and play till you get bored. And I sort of feel like we're almost a low rent version of that, in that we are absolutely nailing the shaky, absent defense part of it. We've got that down. No more hours in training needed on the porous defense element. I think we've got that. But we sort of play this pretend calmness on the ball, like you say. It's like we're doing it for our own needs more than, I don't know, like we're trying to convince ourselves we're comfortable and good at doing this, playing at the back. It's almost like somebody going round and round and so somebody on the ice rink who's terrible at skating, and every time they try and free skate, they fall over. But they can get really, really confident holding onto the edge, holding onto that side. They can probably even spin round occasionally. They look, I am good at skating. And then the second they touch, lose touch of that side, and they fall over instantly again. And that's sort of what Wednesday are like. With our kind of this perceived we're trying to put out this. No, we're calm. We're good on the ball. We're easy in possession, and it just is so fragile and fake. We're not comfortable in possession and happy. Asking how many every team lets Dunkley get the ball because Dunkley is just a horror show waiting to happen with the ball. I hope Gibson's good. I don't know why we got rid of Brennan. I don't know. I just can't believe that Dunkley is the answer. And if he's the answer, I don't know that we're all asking the same question as Darren Moore is.
What is the meaning of life, Shea Dunkley?
Yeah,
that's the wrong question.
Squad number 42.
And this is an interesting thing that unfortunately it's going to hit us at this nature in time. Like it's hitting me on a day where we've got two Sheffield Wednesday ex-players who questions about where we should keep them, but to a certain degree, like one of them, I think we should never have got rid of. And
right.
one of them, it was questionable at whether we should keep them on. And it's unfortunate that the nature that I'll look at this. So did Kieran Lee get a brace for Bolton midweek? He also got a brace of assists today for Bolton. The other one I want to say is more direct in front of us. Questions about whether we keep Lee. I think that's maybe one of the unfortunate things. I'm glad he's still having a football career. It was difficult, and also to play a difficult situation to then come down to a lower league and then work his way up with Bolton and be a star performer in the fourth tier, and then, looking very much like a star performer then in the third tier. There's ahead of us and 3 points ahead of us and just outside the playoff picture. The other one that I said I thought we'd never get rid of, and I think me and you were agreed with this, was up against us today, Jordan Thornley. Yeah,
that a baffling decision at the time, and more baffling with events since. A very solid left-sided centre-back when we don't have any, and still don't have any.
It feels like some weird thing, like Wednesday have had a fascination with, well, we don't want someone solid. We want someone who can be a ball player or have some different element. That is only real kind of an upside mentality, an upside skill set to have as a centre-back if you do the basics properly. And nobody does the fucking basics properly. None of our defenders have done that for a long time.
I don't know what's happened to Iorfa.
You don't know what's happened to Iorfa?
Because we were talking about how he's so good, he's almost bored.
Is it because he's got Dunkley next to him?
Maybe, I don't know, but he seems to have lost the ability to solidly head or clear the ball. Everything seems to go sideways. He was, I know Johnson made the foul, but he was at fault for the goal midweek. He needlessly kicked the ball across the front of our own goal when he had time and space. He could have turned around, he could have cleared it, he could have passed it back to Peacock Farrell. He could have done lots of things, but what he did was skew it across the front of our own goal and give them the chance to run the ball into the box. Today he had several weird clearances that went off at bizarre angles. Their sort of effort from distance was a failed header from him. He got up above his man, but kind of headed it straight down for his opposing player. And that's where that if you remember that kind of volley from way out that still had Peacock Farrell like scrambling, that was a ricket from Iorfa. I don't know. It's a defensive lineup that just doesn't work at all. As you say, Johnson. We could survive Johnson with a solid left-sided centre back. We could survive Dunkley with a solid left back. We can't have both of them together.
Both of them on the same pitch. I know.
And to be honest, I probably would, if we had another option, Dunkley would be the one that would go. I think Johnson gives enough. I think the team looks better with him in it at left back.
But
as a whole.
Yeah, I know, but we've put our house on Dunkley being any good, really.
I know.
That was our big signing, the last relegation season.
The many sins of Gary Monk.
It's a really bad one. It's a really, really bad decision.
I'm trying to think. So, how much more have you got from that first half? Then
I've got quite a few because I think general nature is, I think, of this podcast is we do a lot of notes in the first half, and then we're usually behind or not looking good, and then it kind of, I just think I don't want to make notes for the second half.
Yeah.
So that's usually what happens, and I find the second half because I think things stretch and attentions go, and then Moore starts doing desperate things. Like I find Sheffield Wednesday second half's incredibly strange. It's a bizarre shade of paint that I'm watching dry, to be honest with you.
I would argue that Wigan and today were second halves while we were much, much better.
We were, but I don't know. It's still a desperation of going for something.
Okay. I mean,
I don't know. I never enjoy watching Sheffield Wednesday halves. Even I don't feel like I'm almost tempting fate like all Wednesdayites because I felt like after we equalised, I'd be like, what a kick in the shins for Oxford this would be if we came away with a point.
I thought they were obviously they looked bright that first half. We struggled to get anything going really. Obviously Gregory and Patterson just didn't have that same alchemy that they had previously. I also just what was the game where Shodipo was good? Can you remember?
The Shodipo good game. That was at home. It was a game at home that we played. Let me just remind myself. It was the one where we had it, wasn't it? Did he have a disallowed goal in that one?
That one, yeah. That one where he had a goal disallowed, yeah. So other than that, really,
Shrewsbury.
I don't like Shodipo at the moment. I'm hoping it's still the injury thing and he's getting back, but.
Well, it's been one decent game from him, to be fair.
Yeah.
Amidst 4 games?
I think so.
Yeah.
He looks very lightweight. He's quick in certain situations, but then not in others. And it seems to be a complete, toss of a coin whether it will be one or the other. He is summarily not bothered about defending. To the point where it's almost laughable. And he just offered nothing today. He was really bad today. And I think he's a big part of why it all didn't work. Because Brown worked his nudgers off. Is that a thing? I don't know. His knackers.
His nudgers.
His nudgers. I think that's from Kenneth Williams. Green grow my nudgers, oh.
Oh, good.
Oh, but Brown had a weird first half against Wigan. Second half, he ran his blood to water. He really worked so hard, and it weirdly at times was like up front, and Gregory dropped in at left wing and stuff. There was stuff happening, and in part it was sort of a tone set by Patterson. Patterson just worked his socks off all the way through, and everybody kind of matched that energy. And we really missed Brown's pace, his energy, his hard work. Shodipo doesn't do any of that, and there's no upside. You can, I think it's fine to be a winger that doesn't bother about defending, as long as you're really good at being a winger. He's not at the moment. He's rubbish.
Yeah, I know.
He's doing nothing at all.
Because he was on the left, right? He was on the left flank.
Yeah.
And all the best stuff for us came from the right.
Which was Palmer on his own.
Palmer on his own. I know.
Palmer did a much better job on his own than that pair did on the left together.
And Palmer was still a little bit ineffective, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in the end product, I would actually say, in terms of best players on the pitch, Palmer was up there.
Definitely. I'm totally on the same page with you.
So I do have some more notes. A long ball nearly gives joy in the 20th minute. That was Peacock Farrell whacking it long on a goal kick. It was headed behind by an Oxford defender. Somehow Patto was in, though he absolutely just dawdled to scuff it wide. It was absolutely heartbreaking. I don't know what he was trying to do. It looked like for a second.
I think he thought halfway through curling it that he should lace it. So he ended up kind of doing a bit of both, which really didn't work.
The kind of composure he's taking, and that's... I have another note about Pattinson, which I want to get into as well.
Okay.
It looked like he was trying to hold the player off for a second to get the space.
He did that bit really well.
Yeah. The connection was just bad. I often try and call, Callum Patterson Patto.
Yes.
Sometimes hilariously, my phone calls him Oto, like a being that's made of oats. And I would like to say, as a Scotsman, if you could sell me, Rich, if you could sell me a brand of oats that I could eat and I could become like Callum Patterson, I'd be mainlining the stuff. I'd be boiling my teaspoon of oats and getting into my veins.
I'm just imagining the packaging, just his face as big as you can get it onto onto a cereal box. Chin touching the bottom, tip of his head touching the top. And maybe writing in his eyes, because I think that would be quite creepy.
It would. Eat my oats.
Eat my oats.
I just more imagine him of what's the popular oat brand in the UK with the guy doing the shot put. Just I'd like to see Callum Patterson do the shot put, really.
Yeah.
With a kilt on.
Oats.
Scotch oats, I guess so. Yeah.
There's a bit of Quaker influence here as well, which I would also like to see Patterson with that hat on.
Are we just going to see out this season, this terrible season, hopefully not getting relegated and just being, if we can just be comfortably average mid-table and just write this shit season off already? Here we are in October thinking about this, folks. And being like, that's what I said. I think I said to you at the beginning, I don't know if it was on the podcast, we were just chatting.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd like to see the players just wearing fancy dress. I'd like to see Adeniran running around with like an ostrich thing on, like just doing that.
Like Rod Hull.
Rod Hull, yeah. Well, no, that'd be something else. That'd be the emu. Like, I think Dunkley should have the emu, the Rod Hull emu. Just being handsy at a corner, but then you can be like, it's what, Ref? It's not me, it's emu.
I'll slap him for you if you like, Ref.
I'm just so bored with it, especially this first half. My comment was just, I think, just below the 39th minute where I noticed something else as well.
Okay.
I said, this is toss, dreck. Absolute dreck. 24th minute, there was something there. Bannon hit on the half volley straight at the keeper, but the keeper touched over a corner. That was the one. I said, nearly the best short corner routine we've ever seen. That's because it's still crap, listeners. Bannon cycled it short and crossed it for Adeniran, who just missed a header at the near post.
Yeah.
That would have been good if he would have connected. It would have been lovely.
Yeah,
I'd love that completely. The advert for Score Hero 2 reminds me I could be doing better things in my life. That includes playing mobile video games.
Very good.
39th minute, finally a chance for Shadibo. Comes central front from the left, slips it out to Palmer, who runs and shoots at a deflected wide for a corner. And the corner poor as always. Why, oh, why does Bannon keep taking corners?
Yes.
Half time. My comments for this, Rich. I don't have words for how spineless this is.
Yeah.
Wank. With lots of A's.
It just all. I mean, there was. I maybe it was swept up in being, in the crowd and being in an away crowd, particularly of a night game, is a particular magic all its own. But
a certain buoyance.
But it felt like there was a strange alchemy about, particularly the second half against Wigan. And it was like we tried to put all the same pieces together, but it just wasn't working now. I don't know. Like we'd taken something apart and tried to rebuild it, and just forgotten something important along the way, which I think was hard work by and large. Was what we'd forgotten along the way. We made a change at halftime. Berahino coming on for Gregory.
What did you think of such a change? Because it's a weird one. Because I don't know.
I think what I thought was, we're trying to basically they kept us on our toes pretty much all of the first half because it was wet. It was so wet that the ball was like hitting the ground. It wasn't bouncing. It was hitting the ground and dying. So they were just playing it long over the top of our defense. Why we insisted on playing such a high line all the way through the first half, I don't know. Because after the first couple of times of nearly getting caught out, you'd think, maybe we should stand a little bit further back, lads. But no, we don't, because Darren has his plan and we do his plan. But the second half, we did make a tweak to things. And I think we were trying to play a little bit longer and give Berahino just chasing, sort of sniffing out chances in behind. And it almost instantaneously worked out, or semi-instantaneously worked out, where that ball that Bannon played in behind for him, and he got a great header off from that. I can't remember what minute that was, but perhaps it's in your notes.
Which one was that again, Rich? Like, you remind
me? Bannon sort of flicked the ball in behind, and Berahino got his header down low to the keeper's right, and the keeper made a save at the near post.
That was the 47th minute. That was very early second half.
Yeah,
right?
So almost instantaneously it kind of worked, and that was that kind of sniffing round the back kind of thing. That was the beginning of the refs or the officiating team's terrible decisions, because that clearly was a goal kick. It was a corner and was given as a goal kick.
I thought it came back. You didn't think it came back and came off
off the pitch. He was on the Sky Bet sign when it hit his arm.
Really?
Keeper saved it out of play. It looked pretty clear from where I was sat, but I don't know. I mean, we were on the cop, so we did get we maybe got a favoured view of it. But the first of several sort of gallingly bad decisions, because he also gave a decision against Shodipo in the same sort of situation. So Shodipo overran it, and their defender poked it out of play, and again he inexplicably gave it as a goal kick when it should have been a corner. But that one is particularly annoying. I don't want to sound like Rafa Benitez, because Rafa Benitez would annoy me massively, moaning about like throw-ins being given against him. It's like, it's a pretty long way from a throw-in to a goal, Rafa. I think there's several things that are in your power. I don't think the ref screwed you over. But that would have been, you come out the blocks, you've got a new striker on who's sniffing for goals, and you have that great header down low. That was a great save, but it's a good chance. Probably the best chance we've had of the game. If we'd had a corner there, it's another chance to kind of try and build that momentum. I know, caveat of it would be Barry Bannon taking the corner. We wouldn't have got anything from it. But it's such a kind of sapping. It took the heart out of things in a way that really, it had an outsized effect, I think, as a bad decision, because that felt like a key sort of ramping up type of moment. Do you want to go? I don't know what. Did you want to go through your notes and I'll kind of chime in? And that's possibly.
Did you mention? I'm sorry, I might have blanked out for a second there, Rich. I think I did. I apologise. I'm tired. I'm tired from watching Sheffield Wednesday. I'm tired from it putting weekend off to a shit start already, and I've got more to go. So I don't know if that's like more effective or better. I don't know.
Probably better.
Did you enjoy your time before the game today, Rich?
But no, it was horrible raining. I just was regretting the decision to get out of bed and do this with my life.
Oh God, I'm sorry. Anyway, 45th minute.
Terrible weather.
Did you mention how the first bit of the second half, I'm there thinking, okay, I'm hoping for something more animated. Yeah. And then they had a point blank.
Oh, yeah.
Was that header?
Complete sleep. I think it was a volley, wasn't it? It was the one that number 9 had.
I think so, yeah. We nearly conceded from point blank range. Good stop from Peacock Farrell, but I said, oh, dearie me. The 47th minute, that was the thing. Sorry.
That's a case in point of those two. How have neither of them marked him? He's their number 9.
We just think we're above the basics of the game, Rich, against third tier opposition. That's what happens. I think that's maybe the problem. We just think, oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Wonder if I were having a laugh in the changing room, think, we're not going to lose to Oxford today. Fucking Oxford. We're Sheffield Wednesday.
It's Sheffield Wednesday. Come on.
49th minute, Wing killed it straight at the keeper.
Mm-hmm.
I've noted, I'm not entirely sure of the mark of this, but I'm going to stick my neck out and said that Oxford began the time wasting at the 50th minute mark.
Oh, yeah. They really got stuck into it. They made an art of it.
And then So came on, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. It took a while to get warmed it up to things, but he had a couple of moments. Not many.
Came off for the underperforming Shadipo, and I think he had a moment pretty quick after that, actually, because he's saying on my flash score that it was the 61st minute is when I made the note about Sal capitalizing on a break by dawdling on the ball in the left and just straight fucking it up.
Yeah.
Do you remember who it was on the 60?
Played in for, I don't know if it came to, I don't think it came to very much, but I did like the one where he kind of pulled the fullback to the byline almost and then played the pass in a way that made Johnson run into the box rather than just stand it up across. And I thought that was the one that could have been a handball, maybe. It would have been a harsh handball, but it could have been a handball. And I think he was sort of taken out after that as well.
Mm-hmm.
That might have been the one. Was that the one that Bannon just played straight to the goalkeeper? Trying to piece the memories together.
63rd minute, I thought we did a great counter work, and there was a wonderful crossover to, I think it was So on the left, or whether it was Berahino. He kind of controlled it down, but he just couldn't work it.
It was Berahino. It was almost too good of a first touch because he killed it. If it had rolled a bit more, he probably would have opened up enough for a shot, but he killed it completely dead.
I know.
And that meant the defender could catch him.
And then 66th minute, we made our final sub of the game. You know, we were desperate to try and get something. You know, FDB came on for Wing. That was all the subs that we had to make.
Interesting sub, because I thought Wing had been doing well in the second half. He hits the ball with a nice weight to it. His cross-field passing is better than Bannon's because it's pacey. Bannon, too, it's very lofty a lot of the time. And by the time it arrives, the person's being defended. But a couple of his balls, particularly there's one first half out to Palmer that was really fantastically weighted. And Palmer was also very close with the second one. He played one in behind for Palmer where if Palmer had kind of attacked it with a bit more, he's just slightly misread it in the air, I think. Anyway, yeah, I thought it was a bit of a shame for Wing. Obviously, he's played, this is his second game in a week and a position he's not hugely familiar with, I imagine. Don't know how often in his life he's been asked to play holding midfielder, but he's done it 2 games in a row. Shows some promise there, I have to say, in terms of little glimmers to hopefully, spark into flames further down the road. I think he's got size on his side. Obviously he's tall. He's got a pretty good engine on him, and he can be hurried with his passing sometimes. But when he's got a little moment or two to himself, he can really pick out a pass. Yeah, I wouldn't hate seeing it again, especially while we're in the situation of no Hutch and no Byers.
Speaking of seeing things again, Rich, let's talk about the equalising goal.
Yeah,
at the time, I still have no idea what actually happened here.
I was hoping you'd talk me through it because I didn't know how it ended up in the goal.
Neither do I. I'm going to be honest with you.
It's a great header from Patterson, a lot of power on it. And I think it just hit the goalkeeper and sort of the keeper almost saved it, but it came off the inside of the post rather than going wide of the post. That's maybe what happened. Did you know who played the cross?
I don't. I'm sorry. This is the worst thing, isn't it? I'm just so... I was like, I should go back and look at that again.
There's no assist on flash scores.
Assist on Johnson, which makes sense because it was from the left. It wasn't from the left flank. It came in.
Yeah.
Someone missed in the middle, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know who it would be, though.
But Patterson kind of buried it down into the goalkeeper and then into the net. Yeah. Is that how it worked?
I have to say, their goalie is really good. Yeah. I was really impressed with him. the Wigan goalie was an absolute bomb scare. But I thought his distribution was pretty uniformly fantastic. And he made a couple of very, very good saves, including almost saving that. I was well impressed. I mean, and he did a lot of good time wasting as well, annoyingly, that the ref didn't challenge.
There's one that really kind of rattles Bannon, right? Because Bannon kind of ran over.
Yeah, when he went down injured, Bannon was so annoyed at that. He almost talked himself into a yellow. But the ref didn't even talk. This is where we talk about consistency and things like that in officiating. Bailey Peacock-Farrell gets a yellow for, I would say, a lot less time wasting than the goalkeeper today did. And he didn't ever really get a serious talking to from the referee today. I would like to see it harsh. You know, when they have all these things like, this season we're cracking down on blah, blah, blah. And we've changed the handball rules in a way that's going to make the game seem ridiculous for 3 months before we correct it. I would like to see a crackdown on time wasting, because it's so annoying and you never get it back.
No.
Like, it would be ridiculous if they actually counted time wasting properly. It would be 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes at the end of games. 6 minutes is ridiculous when a team for 40 minutes has been taking as long as humanly possible over every single set piece and break in play. So punish it with cards. You're not punishing it with the time. So punish it properly with cards, I think. Anyway, there we go. That's my little soapbox moment for time wasting, anti-time wasting. I love it when we do it, though. So there you go. Gregory did some great time waste midweek. Lapped it up.
Absolutely lapped it up completely. Oh, what else is there to talk about, Rich? Well, you know, I do want to say I wondered about, like, you know, the Callum Patterson kind of hand on the head type thing celebration.
Yes.
Which I don't kind of understand. I'm wondering about whether calling him Callum Fivehead Patterson.
When we scored, we did have the lovely moment of
yes,
unveiling the shirt and the fans singing "He's Magic," which was very moving.
I had my own experience today that you had, Rich, with the the interesting characters in front of you bellowing crap all game. So we had somebody on the south stand who was bellowing crap. So that was directly into the audio. So that was it. I think he just wanted the players to get their foot on it. That was
lovely.
That was his thing in the first half. And then it might have been the same guy who was singing along with the Semedo song saying, "You'll never beat Semedo," which is not lyrics at all.
No, you're not allowed. There are certain songs where you're allowed to kind of make your own way. Like the Bannon song, I think everybody has their own little take, whether he's a wee Scottish man or a little Scottish man. I've heard people say he is a Scottish man. You can very declarative. He is a Scottish man.
Will you let his nationality be known for the court, sir? Yes, he is a Scottish man.
So you can you can freewheel, you can vamp for a little bit in that song, but I'm not having it with Semedo. It's a very established song. You're not allowed to go off the cuff and improv your own version. It's not allowed.
Improv your terrible one syllable less version that irks everybody. Yeah,
especially if it doesn't scan. Can we that?
But no, that was super touching that they did that, especially knowing that, like, within this Wednesday side there are probably still a few characters who remember Semedo at the club, so that's probably going to have like a big effect on them. Yeah,
we were trying to think where are the crossovers. So Bannon mentioned that Semedo was so welcoming, so they must have crossed over, which means Gatcon was still there, and obviously Palmer was right in amongst things at that time.
They're probably your characters, I guess. They're the few people remember. But I mean, considering that two of them were on the field, that's probably a nice moment. It's a bit funny
that inspired us to a famous victory. And
well, don't you think weirdly, like, and this feels like a sad thing to say, but like the 6-minute applause, was start the beginning of like Oxford really getting through. Like they had a really big chance, And it just feels like it's again. John Pearson was mentioning the the last derby we had at Hillsborough with the Pigs.
Oh yeah,
the one where we lost to Chrissy Wilder and David Brooks and stuff like this, and talked about the post bounce kind of complacency, and it has a feeling of that. Like the players aren't used to the fans booing or being critical. That doesn't help them. It doesn't seem to help them if we're being positive.
No.
I don't know. It's such a poor kind of Sheffield Wednesday playing side.
I do always find that those sort of moments, they're particularly odd though, aren't they? Because I think the derby match is one thing.
Yeah.
Like a bouncing, overexcited stadium. We have seen that inspire teams previously. I talk about it way too much, but the Brighton's playoff semi-final, like undoubtedly that was a pressure cooker atmosphere, and we thrived, and Brighton crumbled under it. That was the fans were a huge part of that big win. So that can happen and does happen. But those moments where we're clapping for to mark a tragedy or something like that, it's completely separate from the action on the pitch. It's nothing to do with the action on the pitch, and in a way, it is a kind of quite an alien feeling, and you almost feel bad for keeping an eye on what's going on because you're supposed to be thinking about something else. But at the same time, you're sort of thinking, well, get your foot in Bannon or whatever. And I do find that quite bizarre, and it's maybe not the first time that we've not particularly reacted well to it, I think. I'm struggling to remember a specific example from the past, but I do feel like it's normally marked by almost conceding a goal rather than suddenly upping the performance and scoring a goal. It might just be the noise. You can't, your communication lines are sort of broken. In America, I don't know how much this works, but in American football, there's a whole thing where you make noise on the third down to try and stop the opposition team communicating, or to make it harder for them to communicate. So presumably when everybody's up and singing and clapping, it's much harder to talk to your teammates and shout and things like that. But that's the same for both teams. I don't know why it should swing one way or the other.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know if there's a situation where a home team is more used to such a dynamic than the away team. But then that seemed to be kind of with American football, kind of in the world of like Seattle. It seemed to be like Seattle seemed very famed for the kind of 12th man kind of stadium. It is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. But it doesn't seem to... I don't know. I'm so disappointed with Sheffield Wednesday, Rich.
So you're... Okay, I'm intrigued now. So apologies if this is wrong, but it felt like you were sort of almost ready to wrap up and kind of fast forward to the very end of the game.
Mm.
To me, I think Wednesday could have done better, but I felt like this is a game where we'd probably... I don't know if you can hear that. There's fireworks going off now, and I don't know how long they're going to go on.
It's kind of comforting. I think we need some sound of like rain coming down on a tent. Maybe a quiet storm in the background. We'll just turn it into the car map. Maybe we'll just get us through this.
It's not gunshots. It's not related to the training ground. It's somewhere else. No, but for me now, so my feeling coming away from the match is one of robbery, because I felt like Callum Patterson we got a bit of a head of steam, and Callum Patterson was 100% fouled in the most, like, we talked so many times about those kind of isolated incidents where there's nothing around them, there's nothing blocking the officials from seeing it, time almost slows down, and Patterson was clearly shoved in the back.
Interesting. I look from my angle that Patterson was looking for it.
He can be looking for it, but he was shoved. If you're left and there's a player with two hands out...
I was laughing, listeners, just because there was a sheer pause, which Rich will trim this down, so hopefully we can get through this episode and get on with our lives a lot quicker, or whatever you're doing at home, folks. But it was a bit of a comedy pause where I think Rich was being like, "What the fuck are you talking about, Luke?"
But like, I mean, again, we were in a good position. We were sort of in different seats today because my sister had sort of injured herself with her other sporting pursuit of netball. But it just looked absolutely clear as day. I mean, I have not seen many. Think about what was given midweek against Johnson. There was as much contact, if not more. I think there was much more of a case of this being a penalty than the one that was given against Johnson midweek. And I don't have any qualms with the one that was given against Johnson. I think it's the sort of soft but given in the modern game type tussle. I felt absolutely, and it was, clearly the feeling of the people around us. And Patterson was completely apoplectic with rage. I struggle to remember a worse refereeing decision. I think I've not seen it back. Obviously, they don't show controversial incidents in the stadium, but seeing it live, it was one of those isolated, time slows down, defender getting his head in his hands sort of moments, and I couldn't believe it wasn't given.
Interesting.
Patterson didn't have any hair to tear out, so he tore his shirt in a kind of hulking out type moment. We talk about reactions of players. I think Patterson is honest as the day is long, and I think that reaction to me tells me that it was a bad foul and it should have been given as a penalty, really. But obviously, this is Sheffield Wednesday. This referee had been terrible all game. The referees in this league are awful all the time. So once again, you can't rely on sensible decision making. And they pretty much went up the other end and scored.
Mm-hmm.
What did you make their second?
I can tell you that was wank. But also it kind of no, I'm not saying this in a positive way, but I'm just maybe I'm just feeling a bit smug here with proving myself. Adeniran was so lackadaisical in his fumble clearance that came to that. I don't know why you don't just put your foot through it and get it fucking through. He kind of juggled it on like it was a hacky sack, like he's an American college hippie playing around a hacky sack. He just absolutely kind of like fumbled it on. And I mean, we're not really going to see many instances where, so it's James Henry, who was like, oh, wow, that feels like a name from the past, for a kind of jobbing winger who's been around a number of like championship and now League One outfit. We're not going to see many players do a kind of very fortuitous poke swivel like that. But we can make sure it doesn't happen by getting the ball fucking clear. And I don't know why Den was so fucking casual with that.
No.
He looked like a mouse today, when a player who had just wanted to look like a lion in the middle of the park. Very meek.
Yeah, I don't know how much of an excuse I can give him, but he did play about 7 different positions today, and there was an incident where Patterson had to run over and talk to Darren Moore to discuss what the formation was supposed to be during the second half. I mean, this is because when Deli Bashiru came on, he was playing right wing for a time. Then he got moved to the middle and Adeniran got moved back. But Adeniran got moved around about 3 times, I think, which, who knows. But no, it's not an excuse for the poor play. He's played 2 games in a week. But yeah, one of those moments. But I come away feeling like we've been diddled, really, to be honest. I mean, I know that's so apologies for the terminology, but this to me is a daylight robbery, and I'm getting sick of myself saying it, but I just cannot believe how bad referees are in this division. It's blowing my mind, and it's new depths every week.
Well, that's fair, Rich, but we need to play past. Need to be better than such a thing, right?
I know. It's the same thing with time wasting. Time wasting is only annoying because they've got a goal. They've got what they want, and we've given it to them. Everything that goalkeeper does is not annoying if we win the game, is it?
No.
Anything else?
I think the only thing I kind of like looked over very quickly was I thought about making a comment about, isn't it quite funny? I don't think it really is that funny that like Oxford is largely associated with the high class, cutting edge red brick university, Oxford University, and then you have Oxford United, who are kind of very oikishly, and now they're kind of run by Carl Robinson, and it seems like everybody there is Scouse.
Yes.
When I think it's something like 4 players.
Man Brannigan isn't he? He's a former Liverpool academy.
Liverpool youngster. You've got Thornley.
Oh yes,
a Scouser. I think you've got Herbie Kane as well. Who I think's from Liverpool. It seems to just be he seems to just kind of assembles all these players to do it, but it's successful to a certain degree in this tier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a good defensive tackle on the 80th minute from Bannon, if I mentioned that, whatever. That's about it, really. I don't know. I very much feel like we got what we deserved, which was fuck all, really. But it's in a very, very sickening manner. Like, I'm going to be honest, it's a sickening manner that I didn't think there was a lot outside of it that really deserved those goals from Oxford. They're all from very clear defensive errors.
Yeah.
Again, I'm getting frustrated with seeing whatever's misfiring. I'm frustrated with all these square pegs in round holes, and I'm fed up to the back. I'm sick to my stomach with Darren Moore and his bullshit. Really, I don't know how much longer we're going to see him. I don't know if we're getting to this point and the players don't look like the basic errors we see every week are just repeated. I don't know if they're being addressed. I don't know what the problem is. But it just doesn't feel like Moore is trying to look to kind of fix these things. He's looked to add problems onto the problem pile rather than take them away.
Yeah. I feel like, we get one bit established. It's a bit like a kind of lights out sort of game. We get one bit established. Okay, great. Okay, if we press that one, So I think at one point we had a back five that we liked. That's completely gone. I like Patterson playing. How long that lasts for, I don't know. Some of it's not our own fault. Some of it's injuries. Obviously, Hutch plays midfield because Bannon's out midweek, and then Hutch gets injured, so there's no Hutch, so he can't go back to defence even though Bannon's back. I don't know. It's very hard. I have been surprised, and I wonder whether you'd hope that management team haven't been surprised, but I do think the quality of this division is surprising.
It is. It really is surprising.
I'm sick of reading people saying like, "Oh, it's a crap league." It's not a crap league. There are some very decent teams in this league. I'd like to count us among them, but I still don't know. 10 games in, I don't know what we are. I really don't. That's 4 wins, 3 draws, 3 losses after 10 games, which maybe that's what we are. We're kind of slightly above average on our day. But
the interesting thing is, Rich, we've conceded twice today. We have one of the meanest defense records in the league. There's only Wigan who we came up against. So we put 2 past and they've only conceded 7 goals.
Yeah.
We conceded 9, which is the same as Rotherham. Basically, it's the same as Rotherham. So we're basically joint second. But then really we've scored some of the lowest number of goals in the division.
We don't have any consistent... I don't know what the plan is to score goals, which we said all through last season, regardless of who the manager was. But it was definitely a feature of the latter days of Moore last season, was we just don't know what the plan is to score goals. And I still don't really know. There's sort of a vague emphasis on width, but there's no quality out wide. So, and we don't have... Well, Patterson adds a real aerial threat. Gregory's not an aerial threat in this league. He's too small. Berahino's not an aerial threat. So who are we crossing for? Anyway, should we do any honourable mentions?
Well, Palmer was okay.
Yeah,
I think we're going to look and say Patterson got a goal, and I liked the other parts of Patterson's play as well.
Yeah,
like the bits when he was, I guess, playing on the wing.
Yeah,
because he did a little bit of that, I guess. I like that.
Did a little bit of, several things.
Everyone else was pretty poor overall. I'm going to say it was a bad performance all around. Who's the worst of it, though? Who do you think is the villain of the piece, Rich? Who do you want to offer for this?
I don't know. I mean,
it feels harsh to pick out someone. I'm going to be honest.
They're all so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it better to do some good things and some bad things, but some of the bad things are bad, or do nothing at all?
Isn't this the Joey Pelopessi enigma? Schrodinger's Pelopessi. Schrodinger's Pessi.
Schrodinger's Pessi. It's been a while since we've rocked out the old Schrodinger.
I know, it's a good one.
It's a good one.
There's a good
playing the hits for the fans.
Is a gooder. Let's put it.
A deep cut for the folks that have been there.
We love a callback. I don't like a callback of Wednesday being dog shit though.
I'm just wondering. I mean, is Shodipo the real villain because he just did the sum total of absolutely nothing, whereas Johnson at least got a cross in and Dunkley did.
Johnson got 2 assists. One of the better, one of the other way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But Adeniran, that was pretty bad at the end.
Adeniran he did some negative playmaking. I
think we should blame Adeniran because we haven't blamed. We've been loving Denden's work so much.
We just I think he's in line. We're harsh on him because we love him.
He's due some cosh.
Because we know he can be so good. We treat him harder than other people.
I know he's shit, but I expect better of you.
Exactly.
One of those, yeah. Why am I getting lamented? Why am I getting told off more than the regular school bully?
I expect better of you. Oh dear. Well, there we go. Shall we leave it there?
Yeah,
we've got
I guess so.
We've got a game in our favourite trophy next, haven't we?
Oh, that's fun. We get to see that midweek.
Pizza Cup.
It's last of the action.
Away at Mansfield. What could be more?
And then we're not. The game isn't called off against Bolton. The game is going ahead against Bolton.
As far as I know, yeah.
Have they finished the international call-ups? There's no more international call-ups to make.
Maybe there's injuries and things like that. But I was surprised when people were saying that they thought it might be cancelled because Bolton were one of the few teams that played last time round. So unless they've suddenly developed some international players, Kieran Lee's finally got that call-up.
To England.
Yeah. No Bob Uda.
So there's a Star article from Toady 4 days ago. He says that though they have Wales international Josh Sheehan in their ranks, Bolton are likely to reach a threshold of 3 call-ups new to enact the option of a postponement.
There we go.
But they were getting all beating themselves silly over some kids they had. Maybe that was it.
Maybe. Well, there we go.
Because the only call-up for Wednesday is Peacock Farrell, right? Yeah,
Peacock Farrell. So it means we'll have 2 games in a week probably from Wildsmith, Top 40 Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we play Peacock Farrell in the pizza trophy.
Pizza trophy.
We'll see.
Well, probably not because he's off for. They've got a game on the 9th and the 12th, right? So that's what you're saying. Yeah, well, he's probably done. We'll probably wheel out Joseph Wildsmith.
Well, there you go. 2 little rolls for
favourite Mormon keeper.
Good stuff. Well, a mixed bag, an odd week, a win that we didn't expect, and a loss that we probably didn't expect as well. That's sort of the season we're having so far. But I wish you well, Luke, and look after yourself, folks at home, and you look after yourself too, Luke, with your fancy weekends away. And speak to you soon.
Okay. Chat later, Rich.